After you've declared the data members and created the constructors for your class, the next step is to create a set of properties to allow the user access to the data members of the class, or at least those data members that you want to allow access to. A property looks like this. Start out with the keyword public, followed by the return type for the property. Think of it like a method, and then the name of the property. In this case, it's the hour, because we want to be able to set and return the hour. Then you write a get method. The get method is used to return data from the class. So here we're going to return the hour. We want to get the hour that's in the object. After you've written the get part of the property, then you write the set part. The set part allows you to set a value for that particular member. And you do that by using the data member name, the assignment operator, and then the keyword value. The value will be whatever the user places on the right-hand side of that keyword. Later in this chapter, I'll show you how to use a helper method to validate that data coming in. That's how we create a property. So before I create the properties for the other two data members, let's test this property. So we'll come into our program and we'll create an object, and we'll use the default constructor. And then if we want to set the hour, we'll write dtime.hour equals and then a value. So we'll say 22. If we want to display that hour, we can use the property as a value returning property, just like a method, to return the time. Let's take a look at that by running the program. So it returns 22. If you're coming from a programming language like Java, this might look a little weird, but this is how Microsoft has always worked with objects, using properties. You can still write what Java programmers called getter and setter methods, and I'm going to show you one example of a setter method in a minute for setting a complete time after an object's been created. But in the Microsoft world, properties are used extensively, and you should always have properties available in your objects because other Microsoft programmers will be expecting them. So now let's go back to the class and set properties for minute and second. Then we create the setter. And again, let me reiterate that I'm going to show you how to do some data validation in another lesson in this chapter. Now let's do second. Like I said, this is very, very mechanical. Let's go back up a line. So there are the properties for hour, minute, and second. And I'll leave it to you to test those to make sure that they work, but they work exactly like the hour property works. Now let's look at one more example. One thing we can't do with properties is set a complete time. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a method called setTime, which looks exactly like our fully parameterized constructor, but it will allow us to set a time. So setTime simply takes an hour, minute, and second as its parameters and sets the appropriate data member. So let's look at an example of using that method. We already have the time written here, so let's take that out. Then we can say thetime.setTime, and we'll say 13:35, 0. And then if we want to display that time, in the next lesson we're going to talk about displaying data. But we could display it now by simply calling the property. Put a colon in between them, plus thetime.minute, plus a colon, plus thetime.second, like so. Let's run the program. 13:35:0, which is exactly what we set. SetTime is a setter method that allows us to set a complete time, which we could also do in separate statements using properties, but this is just a little bit more concise. And then we looked at how to create properties, which is simply creating a name for the property. In this case, we took the data member and capitalized the H, and that's something else that you should consider doing since that's a Microsoft standard to have property names start with a capital letter. And then we write a get portion, which returns a value, and a set portion, which sets a data member using the value keyword, and that value will be whatever is on the right-hand side of the assignment statement when the property is called. We did that for hour, minute, and second, as you can see here and here. So that wraps up this lesson on setting and retrieving data from a class object. Now let's move to the next lesson where we'll see how to display the data that's stored in a class object.